Hello and welcome to another episode of Work 2.0, the podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Wells, and today in this quick fire episode, I'm joined by Stacy Martinet from Adobe. Stacy, welcome.
Rachel, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to speak to you live.
Amazing, amazing. And just give us a quick snapshot of your background at Adobe and why we're here today.
Yeah, I am at Adobe for several years now, leading several different functions within the global marketing organization. And I am actually embarking on a new role to lead all creative and content for the company, which is exciting. Previous to Adobe, I was the Chief Marketing Officer of Mashable. And before that, I spent several years at the New York Times Company working first in communications and then in digital marketing.
Okay, so you're very familiar with the Forbes audience, I would imagine.
Yes, I am very familiar with the Forbes audience and also your evolution over the last few years, which has been great to follow.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. I'm definitely a huge fan of yours and seeing your career, seeing how, I've watched you on LinkedIn. So it's very inspiring seeing how you progressed as well. So I want to know from you, obviously Adobe, there was a report that came out a few months back. I know we've been trying to get this interview for months.
It's my lucky day.
Yeah. So I'm when the report initially came out, I was like, okay, we're going to do the interview. I would have said this interview came out last week, but now it's been a few months. But the report is still relevant. So I want to talk about it. One of the things it mentioned that came out of it, which really pops out to me, is it mentioned there's 50% of people that see creativity as the most in-demand career skill, right? So it makes me think, do you believe that AI has contributed to this rising trend, surprisingly? You think creativity is separate to AI? Do you think AI is contributing to that trend?
I think it's accelerated the trend because communications, whether you're day-to-day in that as a function, as I have been at different points in my career, is the most important skill in any company, large, small, or if you're trying to start something up, right? And increasingly, the ability to communicate visually and to be able to design, to be able to stand out in the way you communicate is important. And what AI has done is it's accelerated the opportunity for more people to dive into those skills. And that's what we're really excited about with Adobe, bringing together AI with creativity and empowering even more people to be able to create and communicate visually and digitally.
Yeah, I think, some people say, well, I'm not really naturally a creative, right? And then AI comes along and all of a sudden, you have Canva, for example, you have tools like maybe Adobe Photoshop, AI-powered tools that enable people who are not technically creative to actually get more creative in their careers. And, one of the things that stood out to me from the report is 73%, I believe is the figure, of employees are expected to have creative and visual communication skills, which is striking to me because there's a lot of people who don't feel creative and they're not necessarily in creative roles. I could be a project manager. That's not very creative, right? I mean, that's my background. And I don't consider ironically, even though I do a lot of writing, I don't consider myself to be a creative. So, but then it's still expected of me in my role. But a lot of people are not taught how. So can you kind of dive into how creativity and those visual communication skills can really impact your career and even your business prospects, even if you're not in a creative industry? If you're a project manager, how does that impact you?
Yeah, well, creativity is a massive, massive category, but it's not a one size fits all. And so we talk a lot about creativity as it relates to design, as it relates to imaging, photography, illustration, right? But creativity also plays a role in productivity, thinking of doing ways faster or smarter. It plays a huge role in marketing, right? And not just the art part of marketing. It plays a role in the copy. It plays a role in how you think about targeting an audience or finding new insights from data. So we like to say at Adobe, everyone's made to create. It's just the how you do it.
Right.
So we're at a really interesting moment where that has been growing with the rise of digital, and digital being primary channels of communications, primary channels of marketing, right? Primary channels of how we work. And AI is accelerating that, absolutely. But it's also given us the ability to bring more people into our product. The onboarding can be faster. And for the people who've used the products before, it's giving them even more refinement and techniques, or saving them time in certain areas that had been more manual. So it's definitely changing creativity across the broad spectrum of what creativity is, which does not mean everyone.
Can you just repeat that last bit? I'm not sure if we caught that because the internet connection may have dropped.
Yeah. So AI is definitely accelerating what creativity can mean, but creativity doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. And that's a really exciting moment in time that we're in.
Right. I love that you said that, because I think people's backs automatically go up when they think creativity and they're not naturally creative. So I'm glad that you highlighted that. So when it comes to, like, when I think about it, especially just something as simple as drafting an email, like if you're a project manager, you're giving a project update, and you would need some creativity for that, like that human sense of creativity, that human judgment and reasoning. But also using AI can really help you, like, because it will take in the context of what's happening and speed up the process for you of providing that project update. So that's awesome. And obviously we know that with AI today, there's a lot of creative AI tools. You know, there's generative AI, that's really what it's for: creative communication, writing, generating images and all those things. When you have a world where machines can mimic art, and what do you feel is one core factor that makes human creativity completely irreplaceable?
It's the combination of storytelling driven by connection to experiences, right? And the creative process, whether you're trying to write that email or whether you're trying to design a marketing campaign globally, the creative process is messy. And it's not linear, and it really cannot be programmed. So AI can come in along different steps of the journey, but it can't replace the ability to ideate, to have that story. And great stories are driven by experiences, struggle, breakthroughs, right? Inspiration in the world. And so I think the storytelling remains, and the strategy part too. Like, what are you trying to accomplish holistically? Remain very human skills, which will be in even more demand.
You are so right. I love that you mentioned storytelling and struggle, because I had a partnership with Prezi AI, and one of the things that I did a piece for them, like a long thought piece about how to kind of like amplify boring presentations. Like, you know, you have those slide decks, one for the structure, right? And I said the one thing you need to bear in mind is storytelling. Like, if you can have all this boring data, you know, and all these stats that may seem exciting to you, but are not exciting at all for your audience. But you can just bring it to life through storytelling and through sharing what's the real impact, like sharing a learner story or how this impacted you, or putting some emotion into it. Like, it's so much you can do to humanize boring data. So I love that you mentioned that. Like, I think a lot of people miss it, and they'll just copy and paste from ChatGPT and post it on their LinkedIn and say, hey, here's some content. And they miss that human element, that experience. But that's what makes us relatable, right? That's what establishes that vulnerability, that connection. So yeah. Totally.
Absolutely. And that's what makes the creative process better.
Yes, for sure. So final thing for me to ask you, you have Adobe's Digital Academy, and you got this massive goal of reaching 30 million learners. So exciting for you. Like, I want to know, what does that number mean to you personally? Why that goal? Why 30 million?
Yeah, so the Adobe Digital Academy is our program to upskill 30 million people, right, on using AI in creativity and in marketing. And why this is really important is because of the things we talked about. These are going to be even more in-demand skills.
Right.
And we're at this really interesting moment where we can use AI, if we do it well and we harness it for good, to bridge the digital divide. And I personally, and Adobe also, and my colleagues working on this, see this as a mission critical moment. And so we gave ourselves an audacious goal, because that's what a critical moment deserves. So we want to provide 30 million people with these skills, and we do it through different ways. You know, we have a certificate program.
Right.
And in that study, 92% of hiring managers say they're valuing more and more digital certificates, because they know education's changing so quickly.
Yes.
We have a certificate program. We work with Coursera on that. We make it available on Behance, on Adobe Express. We partner with organizations like the Girl Scouts or DECA or Build.org to enable these training programs. Our people can just pop on to, like I said, Behance or Express and start just learning and taking it and trying it. And all of that is really important because you just have to start somewhere. And it's been exciting to see just how people are engaging and the awareness that AI is that people, no matter what your role is or your interest, you're going to need.
Well, Stacy, it's been an amazing interview. I can't believe time has flown so quickly, but thank you so much for lending your time to hop on. I'm glad we were finally able to get this done after all these months.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
You're welcome. And for those of you who are listening to this episode and you're like, you know what, I want to continue staying ahead in this future of work, I want to make sure I'm not leaving myself, my career, or my team behind. Feel free to follow Work 2.0, the podcast, on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you found it. Feel free to comment and share your thoughts on this episode. If you have a question for Stacy, feel free to leave a comment and I'll pass it on. And also share it with your co-workers and give us a good rating so that we can keep reaching a bigger audience of listeners on Work 2.0, the podcast. I will see you in the next week's episode. Take care. Bye-bye.